Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Artemis bow ascended skill was revealed a couple of days ago, so I wanted to share my opinion about that. And I tried to do this with text on screen, and that was very hard. So I have to finally make a voiceover video. And audio quality and my speaking is terrible, but bear with me or stay with me. I'll try my best to improve for next video. Okay, let's not waste any more time and get to the topic of the video. Even though Artemis has decent armor penetration and critical hit, but she is not a popular damage dealer. In my opinion, her badly designed skills is to blame for that. Now I break down her skills to show you why I think that way, and also how much Ascension going to be impactful for her. And in the end, I will talk about my Artemis team and how to build a successful Artemis team, in my opinion, of course. In Old Deadly Shower, Artemis shoots 10 arrows. Here, thanks to Ziri's second skill, which reflect the physical damage, we can easily confirm that. These arrows will divide between enemies depend of how many of them are present in battle. Based on my experience of 7 months playing with this account, I'm confident to say that Deadly Shower damage output is really low. I'll show you 2 examples. First is my current Artemis team. Look at the damage that Deadly Shower does. For the record, this is wave 1 of technical division. In this mission, you have to collect this stuff to cool down the reactor. And for that, you have to pass the wave of enemies. As you progress wave after wave, enemies become stronger and stronger. But in wave 1, they are quite weak. But still, Artemis Deadly Shower do barely damage to them. Second example is max testing. Now enemy Artemis use her ult and friendly Artemis and get ahead each got 5 arrows. Look at how much damage they got.
Deadly Shower was one of the weakest ultimate between all damage dealers. But what about Resurgent Deadly Shower?
I might be wrong, but I think first time Artemis used her ultimate, she still shot 10 arrows, and second time 17, and third time 24, and continue like that. But how many times during the arena battle or guild wars you think Artemis is going to use her ultimate? Except for heroes that can gain bonus energy like dodge heroes or Kark, other damage dealers will not going to use their ultimate more than 2 times during a battle. Of course, it can happen that she ults 3 times during a battle, but that's very unlikely. So I think this Ascension upgrade is mostly wasted. To be fair, against adventure bosses, it actually makes some difference. Because firstly, all arrows will go for the boss because he or she is the only one who present in battle. Also, Artemis will use her ultimate at least 4 times or 5 times or even more if you manage to keep her alive. So that damage could be stacked up very quickly. I don't think she's going to be very effective against bosses like Ju or Orion, but definitely it's an improvement. But now a smart arrow and healing a smart arrow. Between all Artemis skills, this one was my favorite, even before Ascension. Artemis shots an arrow who hits enemy in first and second position. In all the smart arrow, it would bounces 3 times, now it bounces 2 more times. And with 40% physical attack modifier, that means 5 strong hit. It was a strong before, and now it's even stronger. And also self-healing ability is very nice too.
Smart Arrow hits enemy frontline. If there are a lot of frontline heroes in enemy team, they are also might get hit, but backline and middle line heroes are safe. So Smart Arrow can't be count as AoE damage because it doesn't hit everyone in enemy team.
3 seconds blind with a negligible amount of damage. Well, Artemis does blind, Kira does silence, Kark does stuns, and Sebastian doesn't care. The unfortunate thing about Artemis though is that Kark stun and Kira silence is part of their ultimate. But Artemis blind is one of her skills. So basically her blue skills is completely negated by Sebastian. Not much to say about this one. It seems to me is a very mediocre skill. Artemis is a very squishy hero and she can't spend a lot of time in low health. Especially after Ascension, it became even less relevant because she gained a strong self-healing ability due to healing a smart arrow. With all that being said, I think Artemis is an okay damage dealer. Maybe it's not as effective and flexible as Dante or Kark or Kira, but nevertheless she is fine. Now let's talk about my Artemis team and Artemis team building in general. Artemis often compared with Kira, but I think Artemis is very different with Kira. I think Artemis is more like Ishmael. Both Ish and Artemis had decent armor penetration and critical hit. In matter of fact, these two are the only heroes with high armor penetration and high critical hit at the same time. But the more important similarity is that both attacking enemy frontline. Ishmael is famous for that, but most of the people don't pay attention that except for Artemis ultimate, other Artemis's damage, her basic attack, a smart arrow, true light, all of them hits enemy frontline. So most of the Artemis damage is for enemy frontline, just like Ishmael. And just like Ishmael, high health and high armor tank with a strong Oliver attached to them, which is very common in Facebook and web version of Hero Wars, is a big problem for Artemis. So we have to pair Artemis with heroes who will increase her damage output and also help her out to take down enemy tank with either attacking enemy tank themselves or possibly decrease the tank defenses. First hero that you absolutely need is Sebastian. Sebastian mostly used because of his first skill, removing and preventing all debuffs. But for Artemis, Sebastian can do much more than that. Not only is Sebastian artifact weapon is critical hit, but also he will increase Artemis critical hit chance by his second skill. Not only that, but those critical hit will do extra pure damage due to Sebastian's third skill. And those pure damage can be increased dramatically if you attaching a all boost to Sebastian. These notes that flying around Sebastian and Artemis is Sebastian's second skill. As you can see, it has really low cooldown, and in most of the battle this skill is active and make Artemis do critical hit much more often. Here this one is critical hit, and this one is extra pure damage, and this pass sign is mean all boost increasing it. Second must-have hero for Artemis is Corvus. Corvus is the best tank for Artemis. Not only Corvus can protect Artemis team from so many heroes like Kira and Yasmin, but more importantly, is a hard counter to Artemis' greatest enemy, Helios. For this sole reason, Corvus is way ahead of any tank for this team. But Corvus also decreases enemy frontline defenses. Also, he works very well with damage dealers who can do pure damage, which Artemis can thanks to Sebastian.
If you think that way, why then you use Astaroth instead of Corvus?
Because I didn't know that 7 months ago when I started this account. Tanks are very expensive heroes, even though I want to bring up Corvus eventually, but not anytime soon. Third must-have hero is Isaac. In high level, Aurora with a strong cane attached to her in front of a mage team is impossible to deal with without Isaac, at least for Artemis. So you absolutely need Isaac, but I don't use Isaac on defense and only use him against mage team on offense. Qing is not exactly a must-have hero, but very useful hero in my Artemis team. She also get her skills upgraded due to Ascension, and it's even worse than Resurgent Deadly Shower. Very unimpressive. This is not a Qingma specific video, so I won't dive into that. Even though Qingma third and second skill is easy to counter, but the purpose of Qingma in Artemis team is to help her to get rid of enemy tank, and she can do this job very well thanks to her first and third skill, and also armor penetration artifact weapon. Also, she is good against bosses, but I'm not sure she is good against that baby boss that we have to deal with in November. My choice for healer is Celeste. She does good amount of damage to enemy tank her basic attack, but more importantly, she can block healing over enemy tank in a crucial time, especially Oliver healing. Main purpose of this team is to remove enemy tank from the face of the battlefield as soon as possible, and Oliver is a big obstacle for that. Blocking his healing when enemy tank health is dropped low can be difference between winning and losing. Another hero that you can use instead of Qingma is Morrigan. Morrigan has good synergy with his father, and also just like Qingma, she can buff armor penetration, can counter Astaroth and Rufus revive. Not to mention that choosing her makes your team much less expensive. Consider the fact that Morrigan is an intelligence based hero and Qingma is an agility based hero, and you need your agility skin stone for Sebastian and Artemis. But at the same time, Artemis doesn't care about Rufus, and also Qingma herself is very strong against Astaroth. Qingma does a lot of damage to enemy tank, and she is much more active compared to Morrigan. So my choice is still Qingma, but Morrigan also is a solid choice.
Morrigan is only good if you use Corvus as tank, otherwise Qingmao is much better option.
Celeste does a lot of great stuff for this team, but she has one downside, that she will push Artemis to 5th position. Being in 5th position is not a good place to be for a fragile hero when you go against a Cleaver, Jorgen, Ju, or Elmir. So maybe it's better to use Dorian or Martha or Tia on defense, or on offense when you go against team with those guys, and use Celeste on other situations. All of these three are very good options, especially Tia. Unlike Qingma, Tia ascended skills is very impressive, but as my personal choice, I wanna go for Dorian, because Celeste is my primary healer, and for a secondary healer, I'm looking for an inexpensive option, and Dorian is much less expensive compared to Tia. You may notice that Sebastian is countering my team very hard. He neutralized Corvus first skill, and Qingma second and fourth skill, and Artemis third skill, but our hands are not that tight against Sebastian, thanks to King Biscuit. It is worked like that. When you attach a Violet Biscuit on a hero, every damage that hero does count as a debuff. And in this team, both Celeste and Corvus can use Biscuit. Corvus does a lot of counter damage with his totem, When Celeste Dark Flame turn enemy healing to magic damage, all of those damage are count as a debuff. Also Chinma's pushback than Artemis and Chinma's blind, and every basic attack done by Chinma is count as a debuff. So we can easily overload Sebastian shield. So Sebastian doesn't make situation entirely hopeless for us. This team is really effective against Kira, Kark, Yasmin, Dante if they are in second position, which usually they are. Also, with help of Corvus and Isaac, we can deal with Aurora and Mage teams. And that's already most of the meta teams. At the same time, easiest way to counter this team is to using 2 tanks, or 1 tank and 1 off tank. Sebastian is still a hard counter to this team. Helios is still a big threat, even with Corvus. So, this team is kinda easy to counter, but at the same time, every other team in Hero Wars also can be countered easily. But generally speaking, this is the best team that you can build with Artemis in my opinion. Alright, that was it for this video. If you made it this far in this video and have yet subscribed to my channel, please do. I appreciate your support. Thank you for watching.